Welcome back F11 members to part 2 of the fundamentals of post-production video tutorials for issue 31 August 2014. So in part 1 we looked at making the selections, doing the edit, importing the images, applying the crucial author and creator copyright information on import. So now let's get on with actually processing the pictures. But before I do that, and one thing I probably should have done right at the beginning, is assign the caption information. So I'm going to select the first image of the whole shoot and then just put my caption in here, which is horses on Bull Barrow Hill, Dorset, England. And actually I just want to say horses on Bullbarrow Hill at dawn, actually, so let's just do that. Right, and now if I select all of the images from the shoot where that caption is applicable, right down to here, select them all and hit synchronize, that caption will be applied to all of them. Okay, so let's go up, edit, select none. I want to go back to the ones I flagged. These pictures up here with these two here, which I think are looking promising. Go to survey mode again by pressing N, see them side by side. So I'm going to process this image here and take the sky from this one. So let's go to develop mode first, and this is the image I want to work on first, and there it is. That's the image straight out the camera, no adjustments done, nothing to it yet. So as always, as before, we work through the develop module. With all of these video tutorials, what I really want to suggest to you is not just how we do things, but why we do them. That's the crucial thing to think about. And looking at this picture here, essentially I want that sort of moody twilight sky in the frame, which is why I'm going to exposure merge it with this particular frame, and the shot of the horses in the landscape at the moment is looking pretty flat and boring. So I'm going to come down here and first thing is look at my black and white points, and the toe of the histogram here is way over to the right. The darkest tone in the frame is not a black at the moment, so let's just hold down the Alt key, slide the black to the left until I start to see clipping appear, and there you go. I'm going to do the same with the whites. Now already you can see there's clipping of the whites up there and where the red is indicated. Because I'm going to bring in the sky from the other frame, I'm not worried about that, so I'm going to do the same. Hold down the Alt, move the whites to the right until I start to see clipping of highlights, not in the sky but in the landscape section, the lower half of the image, and I can go all the way to there before I start to lose any information. Probably a bit too far. About there. I'm going to go with that. Now the image as is much too bright, so I'm going to use the tone curve here, just drag it down to the right until I get the kind of density that I want in the horses and the lower portion of the frame. Something about that. Just going to tweak my shadows a touch there, just to bring in a little bit of detail in the black horse on the left of the frame, who is so key to the whole image. And now I come along and I'm going to sharpen the picture, and as usual I use the Lightroom preset Sharpen Scenic and adjust my masking to suit. Hold down Alt, slide the masking to the right, and the mask is being applied to the black part of the image, and I can go to about that far there. And now I just come back up. I'm going to just add a touch of vibrance into that. Not much, but somewhere around about 10 plus 10 I think. And I'm now ready to export that picture. Just ignore the top portion of the frame, we're only concerned with the lower bit where the horses are. So I go Library, Export, and I want to put it in a specific folder. I'm going to choose my folder. It's in Images and it's in a subfolder called Process. Select that folder and put it in a subfolder which I'm going to call Bull Barrow. Great views from up there down onto the Blackmore Vale. I've been up there many times, but no two dawns are ever the same. I'm going to rename the image to Bull. I want to export the image as, I could keep it as a Photoshop document. We generally work with TIFFs. I'm going to go Pro Photo RGB because it has the widest gamut. And now I'm going to go compression none, 16 bits per image as usual. Sorry, I've just lost my export module there. And I don't want to resize, but I do want a resolution of 300. I don't want to sharpen because I've already done that. And after export, open in Photoshop CC. So let's click on that, and that will be done. So now I'm going to move on to working on the sky image. Just going to. So now select the other flagged image, this one of the sky, and I'm just going to process this just for that sky. Come up here, go to Develop Module, and what do I want to do here? Basically just darken the sky down. Probably as simple as that. How much? I don't want it to be too over the top, but clearly we want some of that lovely twilight tones, that pinkiness. The more I sort of increase the density of the image, the more vibrant the colors are. I'm going to go with something around about that, I think, and I'm going to use the grad tool here to just put a bit of gradation on the image there. I'll move the grad down, and then I can adjust my exposure of the gradation. Go too far and it starts becoming very obvious. So I would say somewhere around about there. Click on Done. Now I don't need to sharpen the image, adjust sharpening really, or very little sharpening, because there's no actual sharp edges in that frame in the first place. So in the sky in the first place. So really that's it for the sky. So I go to Library Module and export that, and we'll look at the two side by side in Photoshop. So I have both images open in Photoshop. You can see here they are. If I go to Window, Arrange, Workspace, and Arrange, and select two up vertical, we see them side by side. Go to Control minus to zoom down a little touch so I can see them full size. And let's just pause to consider what I'm doing. Very simple this. I'm taking the sky from this image and merging it with this frame here. And also I want to work on the contrast in the middle distance is a bit washed out, so I'll probably be tweaking that as well. First thing I'm going to do is take this image here and actually make a copy layer so that any adjustments I'm making are not to the background, they're to an adjustment layer, which I I can always discard or go back on should I need to. Non-destructive editing, it's called. Layer, duplicate layer, background copy, OK. And there it is. And if I bring my layers palette over here, you'll see I have two layers, identical layers on top of each other for this particular image. Let's just move that out of the way for now. And there are numerous ways of exposure merging, and I'm going to take you back to probably the simplest way of doing this. We've in past video tutorials showed you how to use layer masks, which is a very flexible way of working with exposure merging. But this is such a simple one to merge with a very distinctive skyline that there's an easier, a quicker way. So I'm just going to bring my tools palette over here, and I'm going to highlight this image here or select this image here, and now using the lasso tool I'm just going to draw a line just below the horizon across the frame of the shot here. Select that area of the image. Now if I go select, modify, feather, and pick a feather radius of something like 250 pixels to make it a nice soft edge across that line there. Click on OK. Now if I just select the move tool, and I'm just going to drag this into place. And that's really just incredibly easy, isn't it? Now if I can shut down this picture here, I'm finished with it, the darker frame, and there you have the one frame on top of the other. If I bring the layers tab over again, you'll see we have there the sky as a layer, layer 1. Click the eye on and off to show us the effect. I have the background copy on top of the original, and of course the background copy and the background itself are identical. What I'm going to do now is just select the background copy layer and again make a selection. Using the lasso tool again, just a very rough selection of the middle distance, the middle portion of the frame. And I'm going to modify that selection again. So if I go select, modify, feather, and again a soft edge I want, so I'll select 250 pixels. I go like that, and now image adjustments, curves. I'll bring the curves tab in here, and this curves is just showing me really the central section of the image there. So if I just alter this and click the preview on and off, what I want to do is darken it a touch, not too much though, just a touch, but I also want to introduce a little bit of contrast. So this is why the tone curve is so flexible for this kind of editing, to just put a touch of contrast in there. Obviously that's too much, you see the adjustment too blatantly there, but we can be very subtle with this. And if I click the preview tab on and off, you'll see the effect. Without that adjustment, it's quite washed out down there in the Blackmore Vale. Probably a little bit too much as is. There. And I'd say that's probably, I'm quite happy with that, so we go OK, deselect. Just gonna fine tune the sky now. So I've selected the sky layer, this top one, layer 1. Again, image adjustments, curves, and I'm just going to tweak the curves of that sky. I could of course darken the sky down, but then it would very quickly start overcooked, treacly, unbelievable. I think the density of the sky is about right. I quite like the more muted, the sort of soft watercolorish feel of the picture. So what I'm going to do is just put a touch of contrast into that sky there, and if I click on and off there, you'll see the effect I'm having. Let's say round about that, and click on OK. And at this stage, how am I feeling about this picture? Take a step back, think. I'm pretty much happy with it, really. What we're going to need to do is look at this fence which runs across the shot here. If I zoom in, you'll see it is a feature. And really, let's just take this layers tablet out of your way for a minute here. We have to decide whether we're going to attempt to try and take that out or not. It is of course part of the scene. It's not particularly attractive, but at the same time, how much do you manipulate pictures or tamper with reality? I think what we may well do is, instead of take that fence out, is just this white post here, look at possibly darkening that down or removing that. But in terms of the exposure merging, that's the picture done. Now if I come back to the layers tablet here, and it's now, I've finished with the creative part of the image, of the post-production, so I can go layer, flatten image, and I'm ready to save this picture now as is, and that's it, all done. So there you go, from import through to metadata assignment, through to selection and post-production. There you go for this month. We'll see you again next month.